Charlie, I am honored and pleased to be interviewed by you. I think the most important thing I've got to say today is about this $100 trillion memo, but I leave it to you to tell me where you want to go.
No, look, I came to you at the start of this journey, and you were a huge part of the start of this journey for me. And I never forget where I've come from. And of course, Jimmy was somebody that I came to through you. Who's been helping you, and he's been helping us too. He's a character, definitely. But between Jimmy and Lee, they've guided us along. I didn't expect this. I'll be honest with you. I didn't do it with this in mind. I just did it with a view to telling the truth, and to find out the truth from as many people as I possibly can.
I think it's an angelic convergence. I mean, it's you, your background, Trump, people's worries, which I think you've done a lot to assuage, and of course the skills of Jimmy and Lee. And by the way, Lee has introduced me to Mel K, who's a firecracker.
Adorable.
I mean, they could do Yentl 2.0 around her.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a wonderful, wonderful human being who's given, when you talk to people, she's not only worked for Donald Trump for many, many years in the past, but her family go to the same church for the last 30 years. So you're talking to people who know the family. And it was quite interesting because since I last spoke to you, I've done quite a bit of work on research on a person that we discussed at one stage that you had your doubts about, and that was Jared Kushner, who, there's definitely links to the Zionists in his family, but just because you're a rapist doesn't mean that all your children are rapists.
Well, I mean, my concerns with Kushner at multiple levels, and the $1 billion bribe from Qatar was not cool at all. And I personally think President Trump made a mistake in pardoning Charlie Kushner, because not only is Kushner's father a felon, but he also violated the terms of his release by participating in business meetings with Kushner. Now, having said that, I can also see Kushner's enormous value as a honey trap and a magnet for Jeff Bezos and Hillary Clinton and so forth. So I'm not second guessing the president. What I'm here to talk about today, if you're willing, is I was hired by a team of lawyers to create the website stopnakedshortselling.org.
That's right.
And I have been fully briefed. There are over 300 cases that document that Wall Street has stolen $100 trillion over 15 years from Main Street, including pension funds. Now that, Charlie, in the United States is illicit wealth that is subject to immediate confiscation without trial.
Correct.
Civil and criminal forfeiture.
Correct.
Wall Street has also laundered $100 trillion. This is less well documented, but NSA could document it very quickly in 30 days, which means that Wall Street has $200 trillion in illicit wealth that the president can confiscate. Never mind City of London or Frankfurt or Singapore. Right here in the United States, the president could go tomorrow and say, you are going to give me half of your illicit wealth. I'm a huge Truth and Reconciliation guy. Let's make a deal. I think Donald Trump is a businessman. Make the deal. So by going to Goldman Sachs and Merrill Lynch and JP Morgan, all of whom are extraordinarily vulnerable at the individual human partner level, we can get $100 trillion. And if you wish, I'd love to be able to screen share what the memo looks like. And I have a URL for everybody if they want to be able to download the memo for free. It went to the president by FedEx. It also went by email to Mike Flynn and Sidney Powell. But we're all very concerned because the chief of staff, Meadows, is blocking information from reaching the president. Patrick Byrne has said that publicly. Yeah. So has Sidney Powell. Do you want to comment on that?
There is one fundamental issue that they're looking at right now behind the scenes, and that is that everybody knows that they stole $100 trillion. But that's very easy to substantiate. The problem is that $100 trillion was paper money, not backed by anything.
That's right.
So they've got a way out. So what Donald Trump is doing is making sure that his net has got no holes in before he pulls them in.
You know, it's funny you say that, Charlie, because there's an article. I use 58iota.net as my memory bank.
Yep.
This is what old guys do, is they file it away in a digital place. There was a really fascinating article on how 70% of all recorded wealth is not backed up by tangible assets.
Correct.
It's either compound interest or it's invented money.
Yeah.
However, having said that, there's no question in my mind, but if the president can publicly tell if the president can tell the public between now and 6 January that he has a plan for confiscating $100 trillion from Wall Street, and that this $100 trillion will pay the national debt, do a debt jubilee for students, elderly health, small business, small farmers, and this plan was invented by my friend Del Spurlock when he was Deputy Secretary of Labor under Ronald Reagan. It can pay for the salaried retraining and, if necessary, relocation of 40 million Americans who are out of work because of this debacle. So basically, the 100 trillion number is a huge public reassurance number. And that's what I'm trying to get out there.
I can assure you of one thing, that the Chinese, the good Chinese, the Himalayan descent dragon family, have provided dragon bonds to the value of more than 100 trillion, but they've actually monetized 100 trillion to make available to Donald Trump for the transition of what we're going through, because the money will be seized without a shadow of a doubt. There's no
that
question.
tracks with what I've heard from Sasha Stone and some others. I'm waiting for the right moment, but I was friends with Sterling and Peggy Seagrave, who wrote the book Gold Warriors about all of the buried treasure. And I've been talking to one particular guy who has a line on 25 of the buried treasure sites in the Philippines. And others that I know have a line on 25 sites in Indonesia, and apparently there are another 10 sites in the Koreas. So there doesn't appear to be a lack of gold, hard gold. And this is something you know more about than I do, although I may know more treasure hunters than you do. So it does sound very, very promising.
Well, I know there's 167 underground storage facilities in the Philippines, Cambodia, Vietnam, in the three countries.
And so, Charlie, let me ask you this, because I would never want to be party to anything that does not include the presidents of those countries. Has there been any discussion about a joint multinational task force that includes China, from whom most of the treasures were stolen? So China, Cambodia, Laos, Indonesia, the Philippines, President Duterte. There ought to be, part of the problem is that every time people go in and cut a deal with the president of a country, they turn around and screw them and cheat them.
You've actually made a very important point there, and I want to make this point because it's very, very valuable. When Donald Trump talks about China, he's referring to the CCP. That's where your criminal element is and your bad element is. And the Himalayan descent, the old dragon family, and the old original Chinese are good people who are not part of the CCP.
Right, and then you also have the Chinese diaspora, which is a very, very significant group of people.
Correct.
That controls Thailand and Indonesia. I mean, I grew up in Asia.
Well, you would know that.
Well, I've been very well treated. When I was in Thailand shooting a movie with Steven Seagal, a documentary that never aired, but it was on satanic pedophilia, I was very well treated by the Chinese diaspora. And in fact, I've been helpful to the royal family in a small way. But I think that it needs to be a joint task force with U.S. Special Operations military providing security for the sites and some kind of bond so that the treasure hunters and also the villagers who know where all the sites are don't get screwed in the end.
Well, in very simple layman's terms, there is good and evil in all of those countries. And Donald Trump has already worked out who's good and who's evil. This was done 2 years ago, the planning of this journey of finding good people, not just in the Far East, but in the UK, in Europe.
And the Ukraine.
In Ukraine, in Russia. He knows who's good and who's bad. He knows who's good and bad in America. And I know from very, very good intel that over 70% of your politicians in America have committed treason.
That's closer to, I think it's closer to 90%.
It wouldn't surprise me at all.
And by the way, let me make a point, Charlie, that also includes at least 80% of our judges and our prosecutors and many of our chiefs of police.
Yeah. Very, 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 very much so. And you're up as high as 90% as well as of the Hollywood movie stars and the music business.
And the media.
Dominated.
And the media. I agree with you completely. In fact, I've told General Flynn in an email that what I'm best suited to serve is as the founding director of the open source agency.
Yeah.
But what I have told him I would absolutely love to help with, in addition to that, is a national counterintelligence purge of, I would say, toward 25,000 people.
Yeah. Well, he's replacing all of your agencies that have 3 letters with the Kraken.
I don't think the Kraken is up to it.
I can assure you it is.
Charlie, you may be right. But 90% of the people in those 3-letter agencies are good people trapped in a bad system. And I had a very good interview with Bill Golden, who's one of the top intelligence careers recruiter managers. Because when I had this conversation originally with Flynn and with Bill Binney, the idea was to eliminate 70% of the intelligence community and then consolidate the remaining pieces in a restored director of central intelligence, which is the job that I hope Mike Flynn will take at the same time that we abolish the National Security Council. Now, none of this can be construed as Mike Flynn's thinking or speaking. This is Robert Steele's speculation. But after talking to Bill Golden, he made me realize that it is very, very precious to have in hand a cadre of people with security clearances. And so the new idea is to redirect 2/3 of the secret intelligence community to have 1/3 do what they've never been willing to do, which is the third world. Burundi, Haiti, Somalia, what we call global coverage issues, including poverty, infectious disease, and so forth. The other third should do domestic counterintelligence with secret sources and methods, and domestic trade and commercial intelligence and health intelligence and agricultural intelligence using primarily open sources. So I'm not ready to throw away 70% of the people who are in the 3-letter agencies. And that's a major change in my thinking in the last year.
I would agree with you with the foot soldiers, the top. The trouble doesn't. We're
completely agreed. I mean, everybody that ever licked John Bannon's ass should be terminated.
Yeah. You've got people at the top, and you don't have to look too far to find out what they all had in common. They were all members of the Freemasons,
or Knights of Malta, or both.
Correct. They all visited little islands,
or no-name hotels.
Correct. And these things, they just point. It brings everything together very, very clearly. And for me, it's amazing how many times you look down different rabbit holes, and the same names appear in lots of different holes. And it's very, very important with what you said there, because it's much like the Americans' view of the Chinese. There's nothing wrong with the Chinese. It's the CCP. with the agencies that I've lumped together with 3 letters, there are definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, some good, very good people in there. But the people who've run it, because I talked to two particular guys that were in one of those agencies, who were flying cocaine and heroin from the Far East to America and left because they didn't want to be a part of it. But there was a group that all knew what was going on and were complicit. But there's also a group of people who decided that they didn't want to be involved in that. That's not what they joined up the Secret Services for.
No, I agree. I mean, I turned down a job on covert action staff because I signed up to steal the truth from my country. I didn't sign up to tell lies or rig elections or torture children or anything. I've been as pure as Caesar's wife can be. Charlie, is there any value to showing this memo, or do you think it's kind of?
Yeah, no, I think of course it is.
I mean, if you'll allow me the privilege of showing your audience this memorandum, which you can post to your website.
Sure. Show it on. I've allowed you to share the screen.
All right, here you go. So this is the memorandum, and it's very illustrated. And I'll take less than a minute on this.
Yeah.
It's got a great table of contents, also a warning notice. Okay, we now know that Mark Meadows cannot be trusted to deliver stuff to the president. So I think people need to take every opportunity they can to get this to the president's family and to others who talk to the president. Now, this memo right here was approved by Wes Christian and is based on Patrick Byrne's experience.
Right.
And I have a backgrounder on Patrick Byrne, and this is the man, Wes Christian, that President Trump can talk to get all of the documentation needed on the 100 trillion in theft. And then I won't waste people's time. I'll just say there's a whole bunch of really great cartoons that I paid for that kind of tell a public story on just how evil Wall Street is. And that memo is available free online. And I'll just show the tiny URL
down below.
Yes, here it is Memorandum for the President number 6. And if people remember, tinyurl.com/POTUS, POTUS-6, they'll get right to it. Charlie, all I want to do is get this information to the president, because even though he may be a genius and he may have all of this Chinese gold ready to go, I think the American public and Main Street and the pension funds, the firefighters, the policemen, the teachers, the nurses, they need to know that Donald Trump knows that Wall Street stole 100 trillion and he's going to get it back for them. That's the purpose of this memorandum.
He does know it. I can assure you he knows it.
I'm not hearing it. I believe you, Charlie.
No, because
but I'm not hearing it.
Because he's playing a game of chess. And what he's trying to do is expose everybody that's evil. And there's a lot of moves that I haven't been quite sure about why he made them. And then afterwards, when I look back, I just think, wow, that was clever. That was clever. And
it all does look so very good. And I saw Candace Owens' summary, and I've posted a couple of summaries. I think I'm the first guy that said the president was holding more than 5 aces. But I think that's the case. I think he's holding maybe 9 aces.
Well, yeah, exactly right. No, I agree with that totally. And one of my very good friends, Chris Pomfret, has done a great video, which I loaded today on my website and on BitChute. And I'll send you a copy across because it tells you.
I will publicize it.
It's a great video. And Chris is very well informed. He's done a lot of research. And he's just basically said exactly what you said, that Trump has got all the aces and he's holding them and he's teasing them right now.
You know, Charlie, I really became a believer in Q about 2 years ago when I started looking at the past and then the forward. But then it was people like you and X22 and the Sargent Report, and most recently, Geddes, Martin Geddes, who wrote the 10 essays on Q. I would love to see you interview him because I think the two of you are bookends for great minds. One of you based on experience and context, the other one based more on philosophical reflection. And the two of you complement each other very, very well. He's written a new book, which, if I may, let me just show you very quickly. I am so impressed by this book right here, Open Your Mind, Change.
Okay.
And it's available at Amazon. And Martin is a huge guy for also making it available free. So at the website, openmindschange.com, people can actually get to a free copy if they don't want to buy the Amazon book. Now, I personally recommend the Amazon book because there's a hand-eye magic that happens.
Yeah.
But that book, by the way, Open Your Mind, Change, is very reassuring to people in these final stages of the final battle. And I wrote the foreword to it. It just happened that way.
Okay, that's good. No, I somebody mentioned to me the other day about Martin Geddes, and he would be a very good person for me to talk to.
Well, you know, he rather endearingly, when we were talking about his Oxford education, he said it took him 30 years to get over it.
Yeah. Well, maybe you can connect us together if you've got, if you're direct to him.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in fact, my summary, my foreword to his book basically pulled out 21 sentence summary elements of the book. And I mean, I hold him in very high regard, as I do you and David Icke and others. I mean, some of you are just seers. There's stuff I don't understand. I don't have the experience, but in my own way, I'm trying to complement what you're doing.
You are.
Is there anything else you want to talk about? Our intent was to just have this short interview and kind of get people to know about the memo and Geddes's book. What else do you want from me?
I think you have the intel as well, and I think we're coming into a very critical phase. And I had a schedule through from General Flynn a couple of days ago, which sort of showed up that that between now and the 7th of January will be sort of the period of darkness the government sort of being more covered over.
More in the shadows.
In the shadows, that's correct. But from the 7th to the 17th will be the enlightening, will be a period of lightness. And then the 21st will be the Great Awakening. And that for me is, now we can start putting dates so we can get an idea. And of course, Donald Trump did mention there's some big news coming out on the 1st of January. My personal belief from the intel that I've been doing and working on is that he will announce that we've changed the financial system on the 1st of January. That's my gut feeling. It's a Charlie feeling. It's Donald.
Well, then my memo tracks perfectly with that.
Yeah, he didn't phone me to tell me, but that's just my personal feeling.
Charlie, a lot of people are worried about the possibility of a false flag attack against the people showing up in Washington on the 6th of January. Is there any reassurance you can give us about the president being ready for that?
Yes, totally. And this is a simple one. When people wake up to the fact that this is a war between God and Satan, all you need to do is ask God to look after you when you go down into the area where Satan might be. It's that simple. And if your heart is pure and your heart is clean, God will look after you. If your heart and your mind get distracted by Satan, you might get into trouble.
Well, I know a lot of Vietnam veterans that were pure and they still died.
There's always that. There's always that side, and there's a time and place for everything, and everything in its place. Remember that Donald Trump used the vaccine to get the military out without causing fear or concern. The military is already out and on patrol, waiting, ready and waiting. It's not going to go anywhere. It's already there. So things are already in place, and we're in a war without a shadow of a doubt. But
Charlie, let me ask you this, because I never in a million years expected to be caught up in the Trump maelstrom. I mean, I edited the original book on 9/11 and how they started planning for it in 1987. And then I got into this naked short selling thing. And then by sheer coincidence, I decided to invest very scarce funds in this book, Pedophilia and Empire, Satan, Sodomy, and the Deep State. Would you allow me to just show that website, pedoempire.org?
Of course.
May I?
100%, because when people wake up to the fact of what this war is really about, I've said it's about the financial reset, but it all comes back to the children.
Well, you're absolutely right, Charlie. And Lynn Wood encouraged me when Lynn Wood said publicly that satanic pedophilia is next up. This is why I wanted to bring this up to your show.
Sure.
There's a tag cloud. This is all free online at pedoempire.org. Couple of videos. We're now doing a 2,500 5-volume book, which is flying off the shelves at Amazon. The author, a West Pointer, Joaquin Hagopian, gets all the money. And there's a tag cloud over here, which shows key people, including the Catholic Church, Cheney, Epstein, Freemasons, and so forth. And I won't spend any more time on this. I just want people to know that there is a website, pedoempire.org. There's a 5-volume book, and all 42 of the chapters so far, there's about 5 more chapters to be done. All 42 chapters are free online in full text and translatable into other languages. So it turns out that my greatest contribution to Donald Trump may well be this project to document satanic pedophilia in a way that's never been done before. And we are planning to make a movie out of this project.
Well, you and I are a similar sort of age bracket, and it's our duty.
And we both look much younger than we actually are.
Well, I'm 60, but I'm very happy with it.
I'm 68, and I feel 45.
Yeah, exactly. And our duty is to make sure that the world is a safer place for our children and our grandchildren, so that they're not exposed to what we've learnt about. Fortunately, I've never been dragged into that world, but I've learned so much about it. And our job is to make sure that we can protect and guide our younger generation, because what we've found out over the last few years is deeply offensive and repulsive.
Oh, it's a crime against humanity.
Sure.
And people used to laugh at me 5 years ago when I spoke about this, and it took Comet Pizza to actually start waking people up. And then this book this book has been read by millions of people in the free chapter version in multiple languages. And what we're really looking at here is the Luciferian agenda was to destroy faith, family, and freedom.
Sure.
And that means destroying the children, destroying the family, destroying the community, destroying individual sovereignty, and destroying national sovereignty. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, Charlie, I have people all over the world that follow me, not as many as you, but from Australia to Nigeria to Zimbabwe, everybody is cheering for Donald Trump.
Yeah, they are. They are. The only place that's not is the deep state in Hollywood.
City of London.
City of London. The Vatican.
Switzerland.
Exactly. But
and Angela Merkel's compound.
Oh, I know. But anybody that's involved in evil is devastated right now, and thank God they are.
Well, then let me kind of close out, if you will, by saying I do believe that truth and reconciliation is a very important part of this transition. Some people do need to be killed, but many people, in fact, I posted there's a military tribunal index of the degree to which you were coerced and the degree to which you committed crimes against children. Oh. And it's almost like a triage system for medical hospitals in the aftermath of a mass disaster. I think it's very important to allow the subordinate ranks to understand that there is a truth and reconciliation exit strategy for them, and that they should not resist. They should count on the president's compassion.
100%. And also remember that he's a businessman. That if you're at the bottom of the list and you're up for treason, you won't get sentenced to death if you tell him who told you to do it. It's quite
Make
simple.
the deal. Did you see that movie, A Thousand Pieces?
I don't watch movies, but I've heard about it.
Well, Joe Flynn and I starred in that movie, and Joe Flynn was a tremendous surrogate for Mike Flynn.
Okay.
And I have to tell you, Charlie, they did a wonderful 16-minute bit on me, which I was able to extract, and they tricked me.
Yeah.
I thought the cameras were off, and they said at one point, they said, "So Robert, what's your message for all these satanic pedophiles?" And I thought about it. I looked out. I said, "Make the deal, motherfucker."
Exactly right.
But it came out perfectly.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line: is make the deal, and you have a chance.
Of course, exactly right. When you've got a businessman running your country, it's all about the deal.
Do we want to end on that, Charlie? I'm honored to be on your show. I think we've done a good job with this.
I think so too, and it's always a pleasure to see you. I apologize for being so slow in responding because you're always so quick.
Well, I'm quick because I have far fewer followers than you do, but we are starting to get a grip. We lost control of our email for almost a month and a half, but now we've got 3 people working on it. And Charlie, you're a phenomenon, and I'm really hoping to see you be a very important player in public education in the next 4 years.
Well, I never thought I'd see myself as a teacher.
You know, I think we're more enablers.
Yes.
We're almost like coaches, you know, in Chariots of Fire, where the athlete gets the coach and the coach finally says, "I think I can find you that extra 30 seconds. You and I are coaches rather than the athletes themselves.
Well, we'll end on that note, and thank you very, very much, and always such a pleasure to
God
talk to you.
bless all of you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Happy New Year.